Luka's Kids, it's Luka's Kids, it's Luka's Kids.
Well, hello, my fellow car maulers. How are you doing? And welcome to another exciting episode of Luka's Kits. What the heck? Let's roll out another one. I kind of was thinking about this thing. I've been wanting to take a look at this. I haven't looked at this kit in a long time. So these were kits put out by Monogram back in the late 80s. NASCAR kits were getting really popular, a lot of the other racing kits. And so Monogram wanted to jump into the Indy Car stuff. And AMT also did at that time. And that's a whole nother, for another video. But I happen to don't have any of the AMTs anymore. But I've held on to this kit and two other ones. But mainly this one because I've always been a Little Al fan. And I want to build this car. So I haven't looked at one of these in a long time. I don't remember them. And with all the talk with Salvino's JR Models coming out with their 1/20th scale Indy cars here in a matter of weeks or days or hours or seconds or months, man, those are going to be really cool kits. But let's take a look at this. This was 24 scale. And they're really simplistic models from what I can remember. But let's we'll first take a look at the cool box art. Yeah, Monogram did great box art back in the 80s. You get great looks of the built model on the side of the box. This side has the same thing on the top. And then you get, your little dimensions and everything it had, and a side shot of the car. Indy cars were pretty cool looking in the late 80s. This was a time I was paying attention to Indy Car a lot back then. They used to come here and race at Phoenix every year, and I'd go hit those races. Always enjoyed them. But yeah, I was always a Little Al fan, and I like Valvoline livery too. So this is definitely a model I want to build. I believe this was his car from the 1988 season. Correct me if I'm wrong. As BG says, the comments will always correct you. So let's take a look. Of course, it's been unbagged inside and looked at, but this is pretty cool. I'm going to just get this out of the way, and we'll look at the tree. Well, let's take a look at the instructions. Old school 80s Monogram instructions. They always had really good instructions. And you can see it's a pretty simple deal. Look at the whole thing. You have a Chevy V8 in there with turbos, I think. Is this one turbocharged? I don't think so. No, I think this one was naturally aspirated. I don't see turbos involved. Oh, well, I am so standing corrected. There's the turbo. But yeah, pretty simple but cool, detail for the suspension and everything. But it really wasn't an overcomplicated kit. It even came with a driver, which I always thought was cool. I think I ripped the driver off out of this one. I don't know. We'll look here shortly, and I actually put him in the NASCAR model. I had to heat up his knees and bend him, and he was kind of a little bit too big for the NASCAR model. But there's your instructions. So here's your bonnet, cowl, or whatever you want to call it, where the engine is under there. And there's your main capsule for the driver and your side pods. Basically all your body parts. And here we've got the underside. This was always a bummer with these flat pieces for the chassis. Is this chassis? Oh, I'm so pretentious. When you had this kind of detail in there of the chassis systems detail. Look at this. I guess that's supposed to simulate. We talk about 80s thinking of making models. That's a simple way of showing carbon fiber. Anywho, yep. See, 1988 copyright right there. Can you see that? With that, it was always a problem when these race car kits that had flat bottoms, is you always had a lot of indentation, sink marks, and stuff like that. That's just the nature of the beast, and even today, it's hard to not have that happen. But basically, some detail of, I guess, some sort of whatever this is with a what's a whatever. I guess that's supposed to be your detail of some kind of tubing and stuff like that. Got the wings and the pieces of suspension. That's when they were still running what a steering wheel ought to look like, a steering wheel, but really small. That's really a cool looking steering wheel. You could use that in a lot of cool cars. That is a very cool steering wheel. Good thing I got a parts one of these. I might have to raid that steering wheel for another model. So let's look here. We've got, yeah, I think this was the driver. I did use him on a NASCAR model. I wish I had one to show you, but that's how it is. So there's your the rear. You know, it's very simplified. Look at the coilovers for the rear suspension. I didn't realize how simple this model kit was. Still builds into a nice one. The bulkhead here, the fuel cell. You got. I'm going to screw it up, and people will correct me. I want to say transmission, not transfer case. It is a thing. The drivetrain, everything bolts to it on the back. The engine, we're coming to it. Don't you worry. It's the say it. I'm never going to say it's never going to come. So you're going to tell me down in the comments. I cannot think of it. My brain is really broken these days. Yeah, I give up. I can't remember what it's called. Here we go with the engine. Super cool engine details, simplified, but it looks good. Look at the heads there. These were, which is Chevrolet on there, valve covers, heads, whatever. The injectors. There's your head. These are the heads. These are the valve covers. Crazy. There's your Chevrolet Indy Car engine and your headers. A little crossover tube for where the turbo goes. And the last white tree here that has the seat for your driver. And of course, the rest of your suspension. Simple detail, nice detail. Easy to put together. The original bag. How cool is that? Gotta have that. Let's look at the chrome tree. We've got really all on the chrome tree, just the wheels. And this is back, you know, what was always cool about the chrome trees with Monogram. They would always shoot a dull coat over their chrome on their race cars just to give them more of an aluminum look. There's your cool Indy Car wheels and backs. A couple little this, you know, your fuel filler and catcher and, you know, side mirrors. That's all they put on the chrome tree. And last but not least, and I happen to have two sets because, you know, these decals were notorious for bleed through. So I can't remember, I don't know, the kit's long gone, but I got a hold of a second set so I could lay double for the Valvoline so the blue doesn't bleed through so bad, and, you know, and everything else. So it's a nice decal sheet. Back in the day, these were, man, I'll tell you though, these decals from this era of Monogram are hit and frickin' miss. I'll tell you. Funny thing is, this is bizarre. I don't know what happened, but I got the arms for the driver. Don't ask, because I'm not going to tell you. I don't remember. And there's kind of a smoked clear part is your windscreen. And last, really cool tires, Indy Car tires. These were always kind of sought after. You use them for like modifieds and stuff. I knew some people that would grab these up to use them for asphalt modified tires. Cause you got that big honking one, and then you got a skinnier one in the front. But cool enough looking tires. And that's it, man. This is a simple kit. I'm going to use this bag to put the chrome in and maybe wrap up keep those protected, the clear. Everything else, it'll all work out. So, super cool kit. I do want to build this one of these days because I have a really cool poster of this car. Still have it. Used to hang in my garage or my model rooms or whichever from here and then every once in a while, now and then. And yeah, let's get this. Take the decals, put them in there for protection, and I think we're good. So yeah, old Monogram 24 scale Indy cars. That looks like a simple build. I wouldn't bother doing any detail and stuff like that. It looks good enough. Maybe some plug wires. We'll look at anything to dress up that engine if you pull the bonnet off, but very cool kit. I don't know if you'll ever see these again. Who knows? they're kind of really outdated, but it'd be if the molds even exist. But it was a cool thing. They looked okay, all built up and everything. They did the job. So, but boy, I tell you, looking at it now, it really makes me really looking forward to the Salvino's JR models. The newer Indy cars are just so cool looking, and that one's going to be a little more realistic detail. I was trying to remember how these were, and now I do. Now I remember because I looked at it. Yeah, it has to be, I bet you, 30 years since I looked inside this kit. So I want to thank you all for watching. Why do we always look at these model cars that we stash? Why do we stash them? Why do we have stashes? Because it's fun. Simple as that. It's just freaking fun. Here's the producers. Have a great weekend.
Luka's kids. It's Luka's kids.